what we're going to cover. We'll go over the organization a little bit at a high level. You guys have been members for a while. There's no reason to dig into that a lot. But I do want to get into the custom groups because that was a request. And I want to do a member web demo to actually get down to the tactical piece of this, show you how you place calls and how to make the decisions on what relationship to use and that kind of stuff. And then from a features perspective, if we get into it a little bit, we can talk about the legal framework, which is really one of the big benefits of being part of this organization. And since I don't think we have any lawyers on the call, I'll just go ahead and say it. We got all these big legal teams to agree to work with each other, right? We got them to all agree to this is what confidentiality is, and this is how we're going to handle intellectual property. That's one of the big benefits of TSANet, is that we've done all that work for you. Right, so we've created this ecosystem that allows you to create relationships. We'll go into the member web, show you how that's done. Paul is on here. If we get to it and you guys want to know about it, we can talk about case exchange. It's another feature I think that is probably worthy of a separate call. But if we get to it, Paul can address anything on that area. And then I know we want to talk about custom groups, so we'll get there. Okay, so high-level stuff, right? We're a not-for-profit organization. We've been around since 1993, and I was here when I was the first employee, so I've been involved in it. I can give you the historical piece of just about anything that operates. We operate as a not-for-profit, so we're under a set of bylaws, and Paul and I report directly to an elected board. And that board is elected by the members. So that's the way that we're set up. We have a very small global staff, but it also, which includes obviously Reiner, also includes Stephanie Benson, who is in the UK. So we do have a global presence there. There are actually several hundred members that are part of the organization. And what I think where we want to get with our members now is at least for you to understand enough about TSANet and understand why other companies have made it a core piece of their relationship structure. So, for example, if you look at VMware and you look at Microsoft and other companies, Red Hat, what they'll do is if you want to establish a support relationship with them, then you'll do it through TSANet, and that's what I mean by a core infrastructure. Okay. This is kind of one of the key things for you to understand a little bit. The F5 is part of what we call the open groups. And that's how TSANet got started, and the benefit being that you could come into one community, so to speak, and everybody could communicate with everybody that's in there. So you join one relationship, and then all of a sudden you've got a mechanism to be able to collaborate with 100 companies. And so that's what F5 is a part of now, and that's what these open groups are. And there's two open groups. There's the basic TSANet and the premium TSANet. The premium TSANet is basically a subset of the basic TSANet. And what it does is raise the bar up and say, okay, well, within this smaller ecosystem of these companies, they're all agreed to work with me 24/7, work with me on a global scale, and I've got higher level SLAs. And I can go through all that, but basically it's your standard enterprise SLAs. For most companies, it's 1 hour or 2 hours in a Sub 1, 4 hours in a Sub 2, and next business day in a Sub 3. But here's the thing to capture out of this. Because you're part of the premium TSANet does not necessarily mean that you would contact another member under the premium TSANet. And in these open groups, the key component in all that is a mutual customer. So what we do in the basic TSANet is we let our members define what a mutual customer is to them. And they will put that on the contact document that we'll show you when you get into the database demo. But so the point and the key takeaway here is understand that under the basic TSANet, some companies will say, well, I want that customer to have at least some kind of support entitlement with me. And but we'll let the company decide what that is. And the engineer is going to need to capture that information before they contact another member. In the premium TSANet, we define it a little bit more in saying that customer needs to be entitled at a 24/7 contract level. So no one is obligated to work with another company. If F5 is receiving a call under the premium TSANet, if that customer, that F5 customer doesn't have that level of entitlement with F5, you're not obligated to engage at that level. So that's why you're going to see when we get into the database, you'll see a lot of companies have a different set of instructions for the basic TSANet and a different set of instructions for the premium TSANet. Another key takeaway out of this is to understand we are not talking about high volumes here, right? We are talking about complex issues that once had probably already been in the support center, they've been escalated up to a point to where, geez, I've got to contact this other vendor in order to figure out whose problem this is. So what happens with TSANet is usually it is a call that has been unfortunately sitting around in the support center because people were trying to figure it out, isolate it, and then it's been escalated to the point to where I need to get some information from another company. And it could work both ways on the F5 side. You could be calling out to another member could be calling into you. Okay? So I'm going to get into the custom groups a little bit, right? And this is the slide that's going to do that. I'm going to go back and kind of re-emphasize a couple of things in some slides after we do the demo. But this is something that has evolved over time. And what our members came back and did was they said, well, you know, this big open group thing is fine, but I've got other strategic relationships that I need to create. And if you can help me create those quicker, and then I still got one place to go to be able to engage that other partner, I would really like to do that. So we created the ability for you to create custom groups under the TSANet structure. So I don't show, well, you see the many-to-many one up here. We've really separate them into two categories. There's the peer groups and there's the partner groups. And really you can set up any kind of relationship that you want, and I've got all sorts of different relationships. If you wanted to have a more high-level relationship with another partner, then you can create a simple one-to-one relationship, and we create the operational elements of that relationship, and then we implement them under the database. And you can have it with another company. They agree to the terms of the relationship, and I can do these typically in about a week and implement the relationship in a week. If you want something a little bit more strategic, where I've got a lot of these around particular products, where I've got this particular product set out there and I need 6 companies to be able to collaborate. I need them to collaborate with each other. Then you can create a strategic many-to-many group where everybody can talk to everybody, but only those invited companies are participating in the relationship. And then on the partners, go ahead.
Yeah, those just to mention, those partners don't have to be a full TSANet member. So you get a very special membership.
Yeah, that and well, in the many-to-many strategic group, they need to be an open group member.
But yes, but in the one-to-one relationship, not.
That correct, and in the one-to-many relationship, which is typically for a little bit higher volume, like a partner program, where I might have a couple hundred companies, and I just need to establish that mechanism with them. And it may typically be only one way, right? But it can be set up both ways. And we actually will then go in and create a landing page, and the companies can sign up electronically. You can even pay for their membership at a very much reduced rate, but it does establish that mechanism with you, with them, the partner. So from your perspective, it's a one-to-many, and from their perspective, it's a one-to-one. And these are the kind of things that when you go to implement them, I end up typically working with a partner program manager, and we set these things up and walk you through the process. It's really surprisingly easy to set it up and make it work. And TSANet becomes almost your account manager of setting up these relationships with your partners. Okay. So let me see if I can do this without messing it up here. So here is the member web, and what I've done for demonstration purposes is I've actually logged in as EMC. And the reason I did that is because they use TSANet in a lot of different ways, and it's a good demonstration for me to do that. And what you see here is an engineer would be looking at this screen here, that I have this my TSANet space here where I can actually go directly into a particular relationship and directly into the contact process for a company. And I can put that in my TSANet space, and you see the different colored tiles. But I'm going to go down here to the member directory. And let's go to Microsoft. because everybody wants to pick on Microsoft. We'll pick on them too. And what it's going to do is it's going to pull up, it knows that I'm EMC, it knows the relationships that I have with Microsoft. And what it's doing is it's pulling up, the way Microsoft does this, they split the world up into geographic regions. So I've got an Americas, I've got a Japan, I've got China, I've got EMEA, right? And then because I'm an open group member, I have got both the basic and the premium TSANet available to me. And then if I go down here, I've also got a custom group that I've got set up. So we can look at those. I'm going to pull up the basic TSANet, but I got to get this tile out of my space here. So I'm going to go to the Americas side. I'm more familiar with that one, and I'm going to pull up the basic TSANet. And this is what we call a contact document. And what the contact document does is basically guide the engineer through, this is the process that I need you to follow in order to engage me. And it's split up into sections. It'll give you the hours of support. Even though this is the basic TSANet that doesn't require 24/7, Microsoft is doing 24/7. Right? And what the takeaway on this is, it's just an instruction to let you know this is how I want you to call Microsoft. And here's the number I want you to call. And then right down here, what Microsoft does is they give you a code. That code on the Microsoft side means, this is a TSANet call. This is what I need to do with it. And then down here, you've got an escalation piece, and that's required for every contact document, is to have an escalation process put in place that if something up there fails, that you can contact someone at Microsoft. If that fails, you can contact TSANet. And our job is to make sure that whatever we're doing, or the companies that signed up for the relationships are compliant with them. Okay? So I'm going to go back now to my TSANet space, and this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back through that decision tree, and I'm going to contact Microsoft under the premium TSANet. And the reason I want to do this is to show you the difference. It's pretty subtle, but give you some ideas within the support center and things that you might want to do. Okay? And you'll notice down here that they give you a number to call, but then in step 2 they're saying verify that this customer has this level of entitlement with me, and when you call me, preferably have the customer on the line with me. Right? And what typically would happen in a situation like this, Microsoft wants to make sure this call is getting to where it needs to go. That customer may drop off the line and let your engineer, the F5 engineer and the Microsoft engineer, just collaborate without the customer. That's pretty typical, right? Unless the customer wants to be that involved with it. And the concept behind this is to be able to let your engineers collaborate with each other, right, without having the customer start this process all over again. It could be a really good customer satisfaction tool, and if it's not used and the customer's finger pointed around, I probably don't have to tell you what the consequences are. Customers get really ticked off. So that's kind of the concept that I wanted to show you for how you would engage another company. The other piece in this obviously would be, okay, well, am I using the premium TSANet or am I using the basic TSANet? And that's something that the engineer would get on the phone and say, look, Mr. Customer, you don't need to start this all over again. I can engage Microsoft for you, but I need to know what kind of support contract you have with Microsoft before I call them. Okay, I'm going to quickly go into custom groups real quick, and the one that I'm going to pull up here is one called MVEC. And just to give you some context here, this is a many-to-many custom group between a few companies that they wanted to create, and the purpose behind this is, I've got a customer that has through one mechanism or another got a SEV1 ticket opened up on my end and with this other company that I have this relationship with. And this is going to give me a very high-level path to be able to communicate directly with an engineering group at another company. So they've created this custom group under TSANet, and I went directly to that tile, and what's different here is it's actually pulling up a microsite. And the microsite will have and could have information on here about knowledge and training exchange, but then the key piece of this is if I need to collaborate with these companies, then I can pull up all these companies and they'll be on this list. And the instructions that Microsoft will have given here would be different than the instructions that they would have in the open group, or even the premium open group, and definitely outside of the basic open group, because in order for this to be invoked, all of these things have got to happen, right? I got to have the SEV1 ticket opened. It's got to be an escalated case, and this is going to get me directly into a very high-level support at the other company. So just to give you an idea, this is just some of the things that you can do under the TSANet structure, okay? So just to emphasize this again, right, if you have a common customer, right, and a mutual customer with Microsoft, even in the open groups that you're both part of now, right, gives you the ability, and there's an obligation there on both parties that if those elements are in place, which is a mutual customer, that each company agrees to work with each other to isolation and or resolution of that mutual customer problem. Okay, and then don't forget you've always got that ability to escalate, right? One of the key things now that you've seen the database and the contact document, it really is pretty simple. It's kind of like big yellow pages, but at the same time, it gives everybody one place to go to keep that information up to date. And so if you've got you've got an escalation path in there, and if you need to use it, then use it, right? If they're not responding and you know there is a mutual customer in play, then get a hold of that person through that escalation path, right? And if that doesn't work, then give us a call as well. Okay. Okay. So here are kind of the key takeaways in this. We're an organization of members, right? We are a member-driven organization, always have been, right? I think you understand a little bit more this idea of different relationships that you can have and how you can set those up. And in a custom group atmosphere, you set those elements. You even decide if there has to be a mutual customer involved, right? If you're the host of that relationship, you define all of those terms, right? The point of all this, regardless of the relationship, is to raise up that customer satisfaction, not finger point the customer. Escalate those calls if you need to, and if you got problems, let us know. I'll let Paul talk about, well, we've got new enhancements that are always coming out in the member web area. I'll let Paul get on about Case Exchange and talk about that. Here's all the resources. We get these slides out. I did record this so that we can, and I'll get that, Paul will get that out to Reiner so that we get that distributed